C-Red Nation, what is good? It's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again. Appreciate y'all tuning in and showing love as always. It's just me and the chat today, and so y'all already know what's going on. Yeah, appreciate y'all rocking with us as always. Haven't done one of these in a minute, but a live version of Pat and the People. That's what I like to call it when it's me and you, and we got a lot to talk about on today's show. Chicago Bulls may lose DeMar DeRozan for absolutely nothing. That is the latest rumor flying around from Adrian Wojnarowski. The latest report, I should say. I don't know if this is a rumor, and because of how the Chicago Bulls cap space is right now. So we got to talk about that. I mean, listen, teams everywhere. This is the DeMar episode. There are rumors everywhere. Hopefully, while we're live here, we're able to get an answer on some of these rumors and get some clarity on some of these rumors, because the reports are out there that DeMar DeRozan is looking at some teams, but they may not be able to facilitate moves that he on a contract that he wants to bring himself in on. They may not be able to move cap space around to bring him in at the number he wants to. The Chicago Bulls would have a really, really, really difficult time trying to sign and trade DeMar DeRozan. I think the Bulls are basically just washing their hands of this. So we got to talk about all that and more on today's episode of the Windy City Breeze Sports Talk Daily. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave that 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Shout out to the chat already in here, man. Matty the Legend, Lavelle up in this mug, my boy Vale, Levante in this mug, Bears Junkie, Daniel Barry up in here, man. Appreciate y'all tuning in and showing love as you always do. Baki in this mug, Dantana. Let's jump into the show, y'all, because there's a lot to get to with the DeMar DeRozan situation right now. Let's start it off with the Woj conversation, right? Talking about how the Bulls may end up losing DeMar DeRozan for nothing. He talked about that the Lakers have interest in acquiring DeMar DeRozan, but how do they do that? LeBron James has talked about a willingness to take significantly less money to open up their mid-level exception. I think in DeMar DeRozan's case, it may not be as appealing to him, but it may look like a one-year deal somewhere. The Los Angeles Lakers have some work to do cap-wise to get DeRozan on the roster, but they're trying to facilitate some sort of sign and trade, but that would be difficult because it would have to be a 3-year deal minimum for him to be on a sign and trade situation. So you may see DeMar DeRozan take a 1-year deal. As Woj said it, let the market reset next year. If you do a sign and trade, it's got to be at least 3 years, and now you're locked into a 3-year contract. But if you do a 1-year deal, you let the market reset and you're able to put yourself back in a position to be able to go out there and get paid. This, to me, is a wild situation with DeMar DeRozan wanting to be a Los Angeles Laker, trying to work things out with the Los Angeles Lakers, but nobody has the cap. With how the new cap is set up, nobody has the flexibility to just go out there and give him the money that he's looking for. And it's very interesting. We heard from Chris Haynes of Turner Sports on Monday that there is no want from the Chicago or from DeMar DeRozan to be playing on the mid-level exception. $13 million is basically what he would be making. Those are the kind of contracts, though, that teams are looking at with DeMar DeRozan. And right now, you're in a tough spot because you turned down what was reported to be a 2-year, $80 million deal at a minimum. If you're already locked into that deal, you're able to get traded on that deal. It's clear that teams are looking to bring you in. Teams want you. And the Bulls at that time did want him. So maybe it's a blessing in disguise for the Chicago Bulls. But I just feel like, to me, this is one of those situations for the Bulls right now where the DeMar DeRozan talks can benefit you, but you just have to accept the fact that you may end up losing DeMar DeRozan for nothing. And you have to accept the fact that that's going to be okay for the team moving forward. Sometimes you have to lose guys so that you can move forward. We've seen this multiple times in the NBA. It's not a new phenomenon that all of a sudden, right, you're sitting there and you're like, no, this has to be the guy. We have to find a way to get a deal done here. We have to find a way for something to work for us. It didn't work. Okay, now what do we do? And then you see the team start to move into the right direction because of that. I don't think that this is a bad situation for the Chicago Bulls. I think that if anything right now, where you're at now, it can only benefit you because teams are racking their brains to try and figure out how in the world are we going to get the Chicago Bulls, or how in the world are we going to get DeMar DeRozan on our team without doing a sign and trade type of deal with the Chicago Bulls? if you find a way to, and this also goes back to the other teams that are involved, right? This goes back to the Lakers. This goes back to some of the other teams mentioned, right? The Kings have been mentioned. Miami Heat is another team that has been mentioned, right? To me, this is they have to create cap. They have to create positioning. They have to change so much on their roster for there to even be a chance of you making a trade of DeMar DeRozan or do a sign and trade deal that locks you in on a 3-year deal. And then DeMar has to agree to it. The Bulls have to actually want to go down that path, which I don't know if they're at a point right now where they want to go down that path. Like, this is such an interesting conversation around just how this is going to get done. And I almost feel a little bad for DeMar because it's like, he tried to do the bet on himself. He tried to like, all right, I'm betting on me. This is what I'm going to do. This is how we're going to, by the way, just a quick breather here. Over 100 in the chat. Nah. Appreciate y'all for showing love. 110 over on the Twitter side, 85 over here on the YouTube side. Hit that like button if you haven't done so. Subscribe to the page. Hit that retweet button if you're over on Twitter, because you know they don't be fooling with the like button as much no more. But also hit the like button. You get the like button as well, but they be trying to hide the likes. But appreciate y'all for tuning in, showing love, man. I think here's the thing for me, though, with the Lakers situation, with where we're starting off with the Laker conversation. If DeMar DeRozan were to go to the Lakers, it makes the team better. I'm not going to say that it doesn't, but are they willing to kind of mortgage some of the pieces that they have that they haven't been willing to move off of to add DeMar DeRozan in? And I think that's where the conversation around the Chicago Bulls comes in, right? Okay, you want to do a sign and trade. You want DeMar that bad. We want Rui Hachimura. We want Jalen Hood-Schifino, who they've kind of said it is what it is. Go ahead and get him out of here, right? We want some of these young pieces that you have that you're going to replace the minutes with DeMar DeRozan for, right? Like, that to me is where I'm looking at this whole DeMar situation now and saying, and that's why I say a lot of these situations where mugs are going to have to get creative with the cap. That's how the logic that they use, right? Creative cap space is the word that's thrown out there a lot. If you don't find a way to get creative with the cap, he's not coming. If you do find a way to get creative with the cap and open up some spots and find some ways to do things so that you can have the money to pay DeMar DeRozan what he's looking for, and maybe then you want to do a sign and trade, you're giving me young pieces. I not to say that I feel like AK has handled this the right way, because I think the likely scenario is that you lose DeMar DeRozan for nothing, but it has kind of fallen in his lap in a way where the only option for some of these teams that are actually in a position that, okay, we want DeMar, we want to bring him in, we want to have him on the team long term, is for them to find ways to send pieces back to the Chicago Bulls. Now, that also means the Chicago Bulls have to get creative with the cap space and stuff like that and figure out a way to finagle it. And I don't know how they do that, right? There's not a lot of room for a DeMar DeRozan trade swap on this team right now. There's not a lot that the Bulls could take back right now. So I don't know how this ends up working itself out. I do wonder if DeMar DeRozan is going to have to take a low money deal. I do wonder if we're going to get to the end of free agency and you're going to see DeMar DeRozan still out there and you're going to see him sign for something like the $13 million mid-level exception. F it, I'm out here. I might as well go to my hometown and be around the people that I want to be around and compete for the team that I've always dreamed of playing for. I know it's not for the money that I want to get, but at least I'm playing for something. Like, I wonder if that is going to have to be the situation that ends up happening, because even if LeBron takes the pay cut and wants to allow that full mid-level exception, we heard the report, like I said, from Chris Haynes, that he just doesn't want to take on that exception. He doesn't want to be a mid-level exception player, which is basically right now about $13 million for the Los Angeles Lakers. Let me know how you guys feel in the comments below, man. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Send your questions in as well, because we got, like I said, we got a lot to touch on today's episode. And I don't mind answering some of you guys' questions as we breeze through these topics. Street Sports says, can we trade Lonzo Ball for goodness sake? The Bulls are trying to, dog. The Bulls are trying to. They're trying to put a contract. They're trying to move Lonzo's contract. We heard that yesterday basically come out that the Bulls are looking to move on from Lonzo Ball's contract. They understand that, all right, this is kind of done. You know what I mean? Like, I'm glad that they are. It's so weird. This offseason is so weird to me with the Chicago Bulls, right? Because it's almost like the team basically all of a sudden started figuring out how to do things the right way. Like, not to say that I have this massive trust that has all of a sudden come out with AK and I'm all in on Acme again. I'm not there at all. But the moves that they've made this offseason, while a lot of people have criticized them, I look at them and I'm just like, yo, like, that move makes sense if you want to make a move toward the future. That move makes sense if you want to make a move towards a youth movement that you feel you have some, because a lot of the moves in the past just didn't make sense. A lot of the moves in the past, I'm sitting there looking at it, I'm just like, okay, like, how does this get us from point A to point B? And actually, we're better when we get to point B. I don't feel that way about how this offseason has gone. And it seems like all of a sudden, boom, here we go. We got to sit here and make this move here, this move here, this move. We have to clear these guys out. Like, they are stopping at nothing to try and get these guys off of the team. Make no mistake about it. They don't want DeMar DeRozan on the team. They don't want Nikola Vucevic on the team. They don't want Lonzo's contract on the team. And they don't want Zach LaVine on the team. Those are the four biggest pieces that we've been talking about. Is I don't think those are the best options for you to go out there and compete and win. And not to say this is not a slight to them as players. It's not a slight to them as this is not a slight to them as professionals on the Chicago Bulls. I think it's just a realistic conversation on. All of a sudden, the Bulls seem to realize what we've been noticing all along, and they're finally like, it's time to make some moves. Like, I guess that's good to see, but we'll see what that ends up being. Samuel Martin says they don't have $13 million to spend if DeMar walks over the cap, but $13 million under the luxury tax. Only thing they can do is sign and trade DeMar for a $13 million player. 100%. No. And that's the thing, right? When I did the air quotes on creative cap, like, I always wonder about the creative cap conversation. Because all of a sudden, listen, I don't know what the Boston Celtics are doing. That's called creative cap right there. How are they doing that? Where's this money coming from? You know what I mean? Like, that is to me like the weirdest part of all of this. Like, where is this money coming from? Where are the Boston Celtics? You want 150 mil? You got it. Hey, you want 300 mil? You got it, man. Hey, keep it up. Let's get to some of the other reports that we heard out of on the DeMar DeRozan news, I should say. Let's get to some of these other reports that we heard around him, because it has been interesting where now teams are popping up. Now we're seeing teams who we didn't expect to be in the mix for DeMar DeRozan start to pop up. The Miami Heat have also been a team that has been talking to DeMar DeRozan, and they expect to receive an update in 24 hours per Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald. Now, Miami's situation is a little bit different, but they're in a spot right now where you're in a bad position. What's the right way to say it? You're in a bad position because of what you have to do with Jimmy Butler. And you know you're going to do it. The one thing we know, they're going to do it. They're going to re-sign Jimmy Butler. Pat Riley's already talked about bring the money back, make it happen. Here we go. Yeah, I mean, like, we're running it back. This to me, DeMar to Miami sounds like a situation that I could absolutely see. I don't know who's shooting threes on that team. It'll be very interesting to see. I don't even know. Like, my biggest question is, who do you take out of the starting lineup? Are you removing Tyler Hero from that starting lineup? Are you moving on from Tyler Hero from that starting lineup? Like, I don't know, man. But it's interesting to me that the Heat came calling, because you know what they want to do. You know how they want to be. I think DeMar DeRozan has the right mindset for that. Cap-wise right now, as I'm pulling up their salary cap, they're only $7 million over the salary cap. They could make some moves possibly to try and work things out. Again, that creative cap space. Next season, they would be $2 million under. Season following, they'd be $109 million under the cap. I don't know how that works out. But yeah, right now there's $7 million over the cap. So it would take some finagling again and take some moving and maybe a sign and trade. And I can see the Chicago Bulls trying to do that. I could see the Chicago Bulls trying to maneuver some pieces for low money. Again, you're talking about not being able to take back a bunch of money. So DeMar DeRozan is going to have to come to he's going to have a come to Jesus moment. He's going to have that. Okay, I'm looking at this as a worst case scenario. I'm looking at this as there may not be more money for me, because I hate to tell you this, there's no money for him with the teams that he's looking for. The other team that's come calling about him, the Sacramento Kings, there's no money for him. The Sacramento Kings are $39 million over the cap, $33 million, I should say, over the cap. We got that report today as well. And at this point, some of the teams that are calling, it just doesn't make sense to me. Some of the teams that are calling about him, some of the teams that are looking to bring him in, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, what are you trying to accomplish by, like, the Miami Heat? Okay, I guess I get that one. The Lakers doesn't make sense because he's not a player that's going to space the floor out for LeBron. He's not somebody who's gonna sit there and give JJ Redick that pace and space that he wants to run this offense with. I don't know how that makes sense in any world to bring DeMar DeRozan to the Lakers. But hey, he wants to be a Laker. Let's go. Let's get some bodies in there. I can see that happen. The Sacramento Kings, I guess that one probably makes the most sense, but they're in the worst position to actually go out and do it. And again, I see all the like sign and trade comments. I see all of the, hey, if you do this, if we do this, the Bulls don't have the space to do it. The Bulls don't have the space to bring back, like, the Bulls basically by signing Jalen Smith said, well, you have a great life. We hope that things work out for you. We wish the best for you. We hope that you're able to go out there and you're able to, compete as best you can. You have a great life. I would be very surprised if we see a sign and trade done for DeMar DeRozan at the end of the day with this. I just don't think it's realistic. I don't think that the Bulls are willing to go over the cap for players that they don't feel are going to benefit them. Why would they do that? Like, I guess if you're getting young pieces back in, maybe you think about it, but it doesn't make sense to me at all. Let me know how you guys feel in your comments below. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page. It is tough, ain't it? It is tough though, because you're almost in a spot where there's just nothing where you can, where DeMar, like, I look at the contract. If he was offered a contract, I'm sure that it was more than what he's getting offered on these streets. You feel bad for him because it's not like he played poorly. It's not like he underperformed last season. It's not like he was the reason that we were looking at the Chicago Bulls like, my God, this guy sucks. Nobody thought that. Nobody felt that way. You just wanted to see him do more. You wanted to see the Bulls do more, not DeMar, just the Bulls in general do more. And the Bulls were willing to still go out there and offer him a contract, and he turns it down. I'm sure it was worth more than what he's getting out here, and now they're offering pennies. $13 million pennies, but still pennies, right? And a lot of teams, I'm telling you right now, a lot of teams look at this apron, these second and third, or first and second aprons, and they're saying, we're not willing to put ourselves in that position where we can't build for the future when we've got older players on our team. That's why, again, the Miami report is very interesting to me, because if you've got these older players on your team, if you got these players on your team that you're trying to run this back with, and I think they're in a better situation now than they've been by going out and getting Khalil Ware. Now you've got a real center. Bam Adebayo is able to play the 4 on that team. You've got Jimmy Butler still there that you're probably going to spend a ton of money to re-sign. But now how do you put DeMar DeRozan into that equation? How does that money work? That's the question that it comes down to at the end of the day. Nobody's questioning what DeMar is as a player. You're questioning, how do you make the money work? And I don't see a way that the Chicago Bulls right now are going to sit here and make the money work for them. Y'all let me know how you guys feel, man. Let me know in the comments as well. Sam Martin said, I'm assuming that's if he fumbled $2,080,000, that's insane. I don't think it was ever on the table unless LaVine was moved. I think the Bulls would have offered it to him. I think that I do believe that it was something that was on the table. By the way, over 200 in the chat. 200. Actually, I'm tweaking because we actually got over 300 in the chat. 300. Appreciate y'all tuning in, showing love, man. I do think that the money was probably offered to him because I think that's how the Bulls were operating. When you get a mandate from the man at the top, Jerry Reinsdorf, when you get a mandate from the top and it says, hey, we want you to go out there and we want you to put together the best competitive team that you can put together. We want you to go out there and we want you to basically, if you're the ninth seed, you're the ninth seed, but people are going to have butts in seats. Right? Like that's not a surprising situation. And so what do? You want to keep DeMar DeRozan because what's he do? He keeps you competitive. You want to keep DeMar DeRozan because what's he do? He keeps butts in the seats. Look at, and I think this is the interesting part too. Like when you look at Bulls fans, look at Bulls fans now. When some of these players end up getting moved, right? Everybody, I'm assuming all Bulls fans are logical. Now I know that's not always the case, but I'm assuming that is a part of the equation. Everyone in their mama knows it's a better move to get a 21-year-old point guard by trading a 30-year-old player who plays very hard, who has the heart of the city, who is beloved here. But realistically speaking, you know there's not a future with him. But what did we see flying now on every video, on Twitter, on every, oh my God, how did you trade this guy? It makes no sense. How could that be? Why would you ever move on from him? You got 9 years younger. That doesn't matter. It does though. Right? Like we know, but it's so, we're so emotionally tied to our guys. We're so emotionally tied to the people that we want to get the job done. I said this on Locked On Bulls today. We want that storybook ending. We want the ending to Rudy. We want the ending to freaking like Rudy's a perfect example. We want that ending where he ends up getting the sack on the quarterback and he gets the big stop on special teams. Oh my goodness, this is what happened. Well, guess what? You know why Rudy's a great movie and it cuts off after that scene? Because Rudy was not good at football. Rudy was 5'6" as a defensive end. He was not a good football player. That story's not happening here in Chicago. We're not getting a kumbaya moment with everybody in the bed. It's not coming. The best you can hope for is the fact that we're closing one book and we're opening another. And I'm glad that the Chicago, whether they've been forced into this or not, because I do think, right, Samuel said, he didn't think that the 2 over 80 was there. I think it was there. I think DeMar said, I'm going to bet on me. I'm going to go out here and I'm going to get my bread. Somebody's going to pay me. And somebody's going to pay me more than 2 over 80. And it's not working out that way. And it's probably not going to work out that way. And I think that realistically, that is what has put the Bulls in such a good position right now. It affords you the opportunity to move on from a guy who, yes, phenomenal player, but he's 34 freaking years old. What are we talking about keeping here? He's 34 freaking years old. What do we expect him to have? 6 more years? Do we think he's LeBron? Like what if Just like certain circumstances that have been out of the Chicago Bulls' control have put them in a bad situation to this point. I believe that similar circumstances have worked out in their favor so that now they're not in a situation where you're sitting here trying to rebuild this whole thing and trade 3 dudes on $40 million or 2 dudes on $40 million contract and 2 $20 million contracts. That's what you're trying to move at the end of the day. We've got rumors on Lonzo's contract trying to get moved, Nikola Vucevic trying to get moved, Zach LaVine trying to get moved, DeMar DeRozan trying to get moved. DeMar, at least at a minimum, that's off of the books. Hey, there you go. Wow, there you go. Over that. Hey, figure it out. That's not our problem anymore. If you want to do anything, come on back. If they move LaVine, would you keep DeMar and go for a play-in again? I don't think that you have to keep DeMar to go for a play-in. But if you're able to move LaVine first, it does change things around for the Chicago Bulls. If you're able to move LaVine first, and I guess you get money back that you can get off the books immediately, stuff like that, and you open some money up. No. I love DeMar. But don't put anybody on that court. Don't put anybody on that court that's going to hinder any of the growth that you saw last season from Kobe White. Don't do it. It's his team now. It's his keys. It's his car. Let him have it. Come hell or high water, we're going to figure out if it works. Because the best situation for you to be in is heading into 2025, you don't have a first round pick unless it's top 10, right? Traded it to the Spurs for DeMar. Boom. Don't have a pick. Best situation for you to be in is your young team figures out how to play together, how to win games, how everything works at an NBA dynamic. You've got vets on the team. Like, let's not pretend like we don't have vets. Like Kobe White, veteran player, starting to get it going. Now he's got, okay, this is your team. Like, we need to see you go out there and score 25 plus every night. You also got Josh Giddey on the team, another veteran player who literally, when he was put in the position to be a point guard, was fine. When he was put in a position to be a shooting guard, big shot, didn't work out. Now he gets to come in here and be the point guard. You've got Ayo Dosunmu. You've got Patrick. Like, these are young players. We still talk about them as young guys, but they're veteran guys. They're 4 and 5 year guys. So let them figure it out. And if they figure it out, if they get it, oh, boom, we got it. We're on a runway. Jalen Smith comes in. He's dunking everything. He's blocking shots, all of that. Boom, there it is. Here we go. Let's go. Perfect. And I said this on Locked On Bulls today. I'll say it here. You had a 39-win season last year with a bunch of core pieces that you felt like were not a part of your future. If you have a 39-win season this year and you're the 9th seed and you have a play-in tournament berth and maybe you get the playoffs, maybe you don't, but you're just figuring it out and you do that in the first year of this, that feels a heck of a lot better than the 39 wins you had last season, because the 39 wins you had last season were expected. The 39 wins you had last season, we knew that was coming to start the season. We were like, they're probably not going to win many games. But if you get a young unit that's figuring out, they find a way in the play-in, they find a way to the playoffs, they boom, here we go. That makes a difference. That makes a big difference. Or they suck. And one of the better drafts that you're going to see, and you get a top 10 pick. One or the other. And that's my biggest thing. You want Acme. I agree with you guys, right? Acme is not going to not be. They're never going to tank. I said this when I talked about Arturas Karnisovas many times. He's from an organization in the Denver Nuggets that hasn't won under 30 games since 2002. Guess who they got the next year? Carmelo Anthony. He's from an organization that does not believe in tanking. He just is. So he's not going to tank here. That's why I'm not even getting any thoughts in my mind of, hey, if the Bulls go out there and they friggin' are the 14th seed in the Eastern Conference, they'll have their top 10 pick. I have no thoughts of that in my mind. You know what I'm hoping for? You see growth. You see a 40, 41 win season, 41 and 41 or 42 and 40. You're still the 9th to 10th seed because the East got that much better. And you're still in a position to get a top 10 pick. That's my biggest dream heading into next season. That's the best case scenario heading into next season. Or I guess heading out of next season into the 2025 draft. Like outside of that, what are we talking about? Because the hope anything else is the hope that the young pieces you have is that they fail. And that's not what I want to see. I don't want Kobe White to fail. I don't want Josh Giddey to fail. I don't want Jalen Smith to fail. I want to see those guys be able to show up in a Chicago Bulls uniform and put forth the effort that we need to see from them. That's my hope. Now, whether that hope plays out or not, we'll see when the season hits. But that is my hope, that we see a Chicago Bulls team. And this just came in per Adrian Wojnarowski. We had heard a little bit on Zach LaVine. I don't know if this puts the Warriors out there, not Zach LaVine, on DeMar DeRozan. Heard rumblings of the Warriors may be interested. That's probably dead now. $27 million. They just signed a 3-year, $27 million deal with Kyle Anderson. 3-year, $27 million to Kyle Anderson. Shout out my boy. Shout out Slow-Mo, bro. How old is he, bro? How old is Slow-Mo? I gotta figure this out. Kyle Anderson, 30 years old. Okay, he looks it. That's fine. That's about right where I would have put him. That's about right where I would have put him. Raging in the comments. Raging Oracle. Shout out Raging Oracle. What did he say? Can't max the wrong player, then turn around and purposely give you a 2025 pick to the Spurs. Oh, he's talking about tanking. Listen, I hear you. But we know that's done. We know the Bulls aren't going to tank. That's not even an option for this regime. It's not even an option. There is never a season over the next however long AK is going to be here, 10 years, 15 years, who knows at this point, dog. Like he's going to be here a while, right? There's never a point that's going to happen with AK where the Chicago Bulls are actively going to say, get everybody off of the team, we give up. It will not happen. It's why I don't even pay attention to the comments. It's why I don't even entertain it. It's why, and it's no disrespect to y'all. I understand that you guys want to see the Bulls go the other direction. That there's some people. Now, I also am one who will tell you tanking doesn't work. It just doesn't. Tanking doesn't work. No team to this point has won an NBA championship tanking. I believe Joel Embiid's probably the closest any team has got. What's he been in the second round? Right? When the Minnesota Timberwolves got it, they weren't tanking. When they got in, they weren't tanking. Muzz got hurt. And they were like, well, this is over. Maybe that's the closest they've gotten. But that's just losing. That's kind of like how the Spurs did it the one year when David Robinson ended up going down. But somebody name me the situation where a team basically just said, we give up. And it worked out. Celtics tank, they just did it the right way. Incorrect. Both Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum's picks came from other teams. The two biggest players on your team were picks that you made smart deals on from other teams. Like, it's a fun concept. Yes, you get the better players. I do agree with that. Teams who tank do get the top players, but you're usually put yourself in such a bad situation that now you can't get in on free agencies or on free agency. You can't get in on trading for players because the players aren't going to want to come there. You're going to have to deal with the disgruntledness and all of that stuff. Like you just can't. The best case scenario, like I said, for this Bulls team right now is to go into this season, win 40 or so games, see a ton of development from your young pieces. See, let's stop here. Let's run it back. The best case scenario is you find out you got a star on your team. Kobe White takes the next step and he's a dog. Patrick Williams finally awakens, which I really do not expect to happen. Really did not expect to happen. Right? Like that's your best case scenario. Some of the young pieces on your team show out. Josh Giddey comes here and he becomes offensively Rajon Rondo. 15, 16 points a game, 10 assists, 10 rebounds. That's your best case scenario because then I'm okay with sitting there and going, well, we don't have our 2025 pick, but we got that. Because now you're looking for answers. Yeah, best case scenario, Matas Buzelis steps on the floor and he's yamming on everybody's head and he figures out a 3-point shot. That's best case scenario. Because you got a bunch of young dogs on this team already that you're trying to figure out if they're big enough to let loose. Right now, you got some, you got, what's Kobe White? Kobe's like, he ain't a big dog yet. He's not a big dog to me yet. What kind of dog would Kobe White be right now? Like a medium-sized dog. He's like a terrier. Kobe White, you got a terrier with Kobe White. You know what I'm saying? He can hunt. He can bring some nice things back, but he ain't a big dog. You got to figure out if you got some big dogs on this team coming out of this season. That's the best case scenario for you moving forward. And I think that's why when people look at the Bulls right now, there isn't a ton of hope around this team because you haven't seen those big dogs show up. Malt Vegas. Spurs tanked for Wemby. They had DeMar, DeJounte, and Podol. Told them brothers to go elsewhere for a first-round pick. The Spurs also won, 18 games last year? French Bulldog is a good dog for Kobe White right now. I feel that. Like, I'm talking about tanking to win. I'm talking about tanking to go out there and put tanking literally to make your pick better. Kendrick Seaton in all caps, very angrily and misspelling. Nah, Pat's sleeping. I don't understand how people keep saying others sleep on Pat when he hasn't shown us no type of consistency. I don't know if you're saying that I'm sleeping or you're saying that you're asleep on Pat Will. Sam said, no hope because of no extra picks and never paying luxury tax. The Giddey, Kobe, Io extension. This is our team for years, which I'm fine with if it hits. Kobe's on a great contract. Io's on a great contract. They're both on $10 million per year right now. I think that Pat Will. Okay. I think that if you're talking about the Giddey contract, right? Giddey gets paid if he plays well. The one thing that I can say about AK since giving out contracts outside of, I guess, the Zach LaVine one, well, I guess even the Zach LaVine one, like Zach was playing well when he got his money. The one thing that I can say about AK is he pays people based on how they produce. Nikola Vucevic got $20 million a year. He's a double-double. $20 million a year is not that much. That puts you in a bad spot cap-wise right now because you're trying to get him off your team, but it's not that much. Zach LaVine got $40+ million a year. Why? He was at that point a 5-5 player, and he was playing well, and you felt like you had a team. You thought Lonzo was coming back. You thought you had the answer. You didn't. You effed up on that one. The P. Will contract, $90 million over 5. Perfect contract. I thought he was going to wild out. I thought P. Will was going to be getting like $25 million a year. You know what I mean? Like I think that contract wise, if Josh Giddey performs at a level that's worth paying him, first off, I don't know why people say that. People always throw Giddey in there like you don't want to pay him. If he plays well, why wouldn't you want to pay him? If he plays well by the end of the season, we're going to be sitting here going, you have to pay Josh Giddey. There's no way you can let him go. Like it's just I would rather pay Josh Giddey. I would rather I look out on the court every week during the NBA season. And I'm like, I know I got 15 assists coming from that guy or 10 assists or whatever it is, right? I don't know. KJ Matthews says Pat Will didn't ask to be picked 4th. He came off the bench at FSU, and I think he needs some of that sniffing salt before games to get him going because I'm losing hope on Pat Will. I lost hope on Pat Will a while ago. Y'all know how I feel about people. I was probably the first person in Bulls media, heck, and Bears media as well, to say that Pat Will's a bust. Now, it doesn't mean that he can't achieve some level of success in the NBA, but he doesn't look for enough opportunity for me. He doesn't look for enough opportunity for me. By the way, over 400 in the chat. 400. 326 over on the Twitter side, 180 over on the YouTube side. Appreciate y'all tuning in and showing love. Patrick Williams just doesn't have enough. I'm going to just go after it, to me. He doesn't have enough. Hey, like we gotta. No, I'm not getting shots. I'm at the rim. And every time somebody else comes in, they do. Javonte Green came in, played better on the defensive end, played better on the offensive end, got in the passing lanes, found ways to attack the rim, found ways to grab rebounds. Like I see it every time. DJJ came in, same thing. Torrey Craig came in, same thing. Like there's too many dudes on this list at this point that I'm just like, nah, I'm cool. KJ Matthews with the 400. I got you, Pat, since you alone today. Appreciate that, my boy. Jesse Rivera. Pat will do better playing at the 3 without DeMar and Zach. It doesn't matter, guys. I keep seeing this narrative go around that Pat has to play the 3. Like Pat in his whole career has played only the 3. He played the 4 more in his rookie year than he did play the 3. We know that, right? Like Pat Will has played both positions his whole career. And the conversation on, well, you know, he would end up guarding threes, so that would work out better for him. He guards LeBron. He guards Kawhi Leonard. He guards Paul George. He guards, I mean, like whatever three, like he's still guarding the threes. Like I don't get the if he plays the three, he's going to be so much of a better player. And I understand people still holding on to that Minnesota game like that was a life. Oh, he's playing the three and he killed Anthony Edwards, and that's why he's going to be phenomenal. All right, Anthony Edwards is not a three. And if you look at fours around the NBA, all over the NBA, they're about P. Will size, maybe a little bit taller. Weight-wise, they're very similar. Like it doesn't change anything on the floor. The problem with him playing the four is that you kind of rely on your four to get some rebounds, and Patrick Williams just doesn't seem to have an interest in doing that. That's my problem with Pat Will. I don't care what position. We've seen twos playing the four. We've seen Javonte Green 6'4". We've seen him play the four. Why is he getting more rebounds than Pat Will is? It's unacceptable. It's inexcusable. And this notion that, oh, if he plays the three, that's the only way that it's going to work out for him. Like, no. We're sitting here acting like this is the NBA in 1995 or in 2005. This is not that. This isn't that. The roles are very different. Look on the draft board. That mug don't say nothing but guards, forwards, and wings. And centers. Like if what position you're specifically locked into is the reason why you can or can't play basketball, that's a poor excuse. Oh, he's being put in a bad position. He's being put in a position on offense to knock down wide open threes. He doesn't always take them. He's also being put in a position on offense to drive to the bucket. He doesn't always do that. A lot of times he passes out of it because he's being very passive. We saw him do that a little bit more. And guess why? We saw Patrick Williams have an uptick in scoring in that time that DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine were out. It wasn't because he was playing the three. His rebounding numbers were the highest of his career, and he was getting put back buckets. He was creating opportunities for himself. You got to create opportunities for yourself. That's the only conversation to have on it with Patrick Williams. We'll see what this offseason ends up going through, man. I mean, there's still a lot left on the table. There's a lot of moves left to be made. I've been updating, looking at trying to see if we see anything new from Woj. Nothing new happening right now. So I'm going to get up out of here, man. I appreciate y'all tuning in and showing love to another episode of the Windy City Breeze Sports Talk Daily. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave that 5-star review. Shout out to Rage, and always good to have a back and forth. Shout out to Samuel. Glad to have you in here having some back and forth as well. Enjoyed that. Who all is in here, man? Well, Shy Bang in this smug. B Daily said, what did he say? He got a long comment. I'll put that on the screen real quick. I feel that DeMar and Zach was holding P. Will back because they're both ball dominant offensively. Last year in December, when Zach got hurt, P. Will was averaging 14 points per game. P. Will gonna shine now. Listen, I hope you're right. But that's 14. It's 14 games. That's 14 games. It's not enough of a sample size. I've seen Muzz have a hot 14 games. Nikola Mirotic had a hot 14 games. Larry Markkinen had a hot 14 games here. Actually, Larry had a better season. I'm not gonna put that on Larry. Let me take that back. Let me take that back. Hey, man, we appreciate y'all for tuning in, showing love as always. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page. It's your boy, Pat the Designer, back at it again. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. See Red Nation. Stand